This could take a bit of a long route and hurt Lively's case down the road as well.
Blake Lively's attorney, Meryl Gavrnsky, has quit the law firm that she's been working at since at least 2020.
Blake Lively's most recent courtroom meltdown hit its breaking point when her attorney, Mariel Journey, officially resigned, allegedly calling her a narcissist behind closed doors, leaving the case effectively lifeless and her reputation in ruins. It's not often you see a legal team bail on a client as fast as if they were escaping a burning building, but in Blake's case, it seemed entirely justified. Representing her had turned into the legal version of defending a toddler throwing a tantrum in a grocery store aisle, so chaotic and humiliating that even Journey likely decided dealing with parking tickets would be a less degrading career move. The real downfall began on May 13, 2024, when Blake's entire legal operation imploded spectacularly. Court filings piled up, publicity stunts misfired like cheap fireworks, and PR catastrophes multiplied, turning what should have been a routine case into a full-blown Netflix-style drama, minus the ratings. Even the New York Times, once sympathetic to Blake's carefully crafted PR machine, couldn't spin the mess this time. Months of amplifying her smear campaigns only emphasized how fragile her credibility had become. Sources from within her own legal circle whispered about growing frustration, calling her a fame-obsessed narcissist, signaling that Blake had officially hit rock bottom. Her fixation with media attention had turned her lawyer's work into something that resembled a low-budget reality show. But Blake didn't go down alone. Ryan Reynolds, acting as her behind-the-scenes strategist, got pulled into the chaos, allegedly diverting shareholder money, including Disney funds, to bankroll Blake's courtroom dramatics, with Deadpool literally becoming part of the evidence. The circus only expanded with what became known as the Vans lawsuit, or more accurately, the Vans scam. On September 27, 2024, Blake and Ryan's shell company, Banson Incorporated, suddenly appeared, filing a lawsuit in New York packed with anonymous defendants. Public records later showed Blake as CEO, secretary, and CFO, with Reynolds deeply involved, crafting what looked like a power couple revenge plot. Just 4 days later, on October 1st, Blake's team subpoenaed PR executive Stephanie Jones, demanding information about Wayfair and Justin Baldoni, proving she couldn't let Baldoni move an inch without pulling him back into her legal chaos. Watching her switch from online stalking to subpoena chasing showcased the perfect mix of obsession, incompetence, and humiliation that defined her strategy. From abandoned attorneys and failed PR maneuvers to shady shell companies and attention-fueled lawsuits, Blake's tactics spiraled into a messy cocktail of ego-driven theatrics, legal overreach, and media manipulation. The entire saga, filled with reckless filings, dramatic schemes, and excessive showmanship, left everyone involved, from judges and lawyers to journalists and viewers, witnessing a celebrity-fueled circus where truth, logic, and law were buried under pride, revenge, and the hunger for control, marking one of Hollywood's most bizarre and humiliating legal disasters in recent memory.
There's an entirely new claim that comes out at some point during this litigation. And so the impacts of this dismissal are therefore going to be much more complete and obvious on the Wayfair side of things.
If by magic the lawsuit disappeared almost as quickly as it surfaced, fully withdrawn by December 19th, 2024, leaving behind nothing but the echoes of Blake and Ryan's ploy to obtain private text messages conveniently supporting her retaliation narrative. Their legal hide-and-seek act was transparent, and the media swiftly exposed it for what it was: an abusive manipulation of the judicial system. Blake had transformed litigation into her own stage for vengeance. Using what she believed to be her legal brilliance to collect messages she claimed were the smoking gun for harassment, retaliation, and conspiracy. The problem was that these messages were obtained through the Van stunt, a method critics described as shady. Former PR associate Jennifer Ale accused Blake's team of essentially hacking her phone, while PR executive Stephanie Jones was allegedly involved in combing through private data, blatantly violating privacy laws. The desperation to win became obvious as her team crossed legal lines to gather so-called receipts, then stripped them of context and leaked them to the New York Times, turning flimsy claims into dramatic headlines. But legal experts saw through the facade. The evidence collapsed under scrutiny. No clear timeline, no motive, just carefully edited texts crafted to fit a victim narrative. Blake's tactics resembled a group chat doctored to make her appear wronged while erasing moments that revealed her own misconduct. Meanwhile, frustration within her legal camp intensified as the case was held together by social media spin, delusion, and manipulated messages. Real evidence meant nothing to Blake. She replaced law with publicity, staging PR meltdowns and labeling them as justice. Her approach relied on narrative engineering instead of facts, amplified by Ryan's faltering strategy and a courtroom full of mortified attorneys. Cracks widened. Her lawyer quit, her PR armor shattered, and the lawsuit spiraled into emptiness. Her central claim under California's government code, protection from retaliation for reporting harassment, looked weak at best. Even California's broad definition of employee couldn't save her argument. The accusation of retaliation from Justin Baldoni, whom she'd legally targeted for months, made no sense. The alleged events occurred nearly a year after filming ended, like blaming last year's stubbed toe on a neighbor's yard work. Predictably, she recycled the same doctored text from the van stunt as her ironclad proof, which in reality demonstrated nothing actionable against Wayfair. There was no motive, no timeline, just spin and manipulation. Baldoni's defamation claims were dismissed after missed deadlines, leaving Blake cornered with no scapegoat and no backup plan. Her retaliation case was gasping for life, and even her lawyers sensed the panic. Things escalated with what insiders dubbed the sanctioned smokescreen and subpoena circus. In April 2024, Blake and Ryan bombarded the court with over a dozen motions, including 2 sanctions filings so poorly written insiders compared them to high school essays. Even law students, critics whispered, would have been embarrassed to submit such work. Her playbook had devolved into PR gimmicks masquerading as arguments, filing Instagram captions as legal evidence. Beyond that, Blake's tactics revolved around manipulating media narratives and bending courtroom procedures. Her willingness to exploit loopholes, cherry-pick evidence, and twist context showed how far she'd go to maintain her illusion of victimhood. The truth was undeniable. Her claims lacked the structure to survive legal review. Retaliation lawsuits require solid timing, credible proof, and logical motive, none of which fit her story. She tried to frame normal workplace interactions as harassment, relying on reworked messages and a convoluted timeline that failed to convince any serious judge or attorney. Each legal stunt, from subpoenaing PR executives to weaponizing private texts, exposed more desperation than competence. The media may have magnified her headlines, but inside the courtroom, her case appeared brittle and theatrical, built on performance, not proof. Analysts and journalists alike noted the growing gap between the dramatic presentation and the actual substance. Her legal strategy was less about justice and more about attention, turning a courtroom into a platform for her personal vendetta. Every motion, every filing, every selective leak reinforced the image of a celebrity exploiting the legal system as a stage. Her missteps, from inconsistent timelines to questionable evidence gathering, revealed arrogance and disregard for proper procedure. What should have been a process of accountability became an orchestrated show where optics outweighed honesty. As her team scrambled to contain the fallout, it became clear the foundation had crumbled. Sanctions and subpoenas meant to pressure opponents only highlighted her weaknesses, each move backfiring as proof of her fragile case. While the public was captivated by the drama, the legal world saw right through it, a spectacle built on perception, not facts. Blake's obsession with narrative control couldn't replace genuine evidence, and as her PR facade collapsed, so did her legal standing. Even her broadest California-based claims fell apart under scrutiny, supported only by flimsy connections and a timeline that didn't align. In essence, her entire approach fused media manipulation, courtroom theatrics, and creative storytelling to maintain the illusion of a credible case. But beneath the surface, it was hollow. Her dependence on doctored texts, headline-grabbing filings, and attention-seeking motions drew eyes but failed to convince experts. With Baldoni's defamation dismissed and procedural deadlines missed, she was left with nothing but a collapsing narrative. The courts and commentators alike recognized the obvious. Her case was built for spectacle, not substance. What remained were curated headlines and social media spins attempting to sustain a false victim image without legal grounding. The result was a striking reminder of how easily publicity can masquerade as justice. Manipulated messages, out-of-context filings, and over-the-top PR moves can't substitute for evidence-based law. In the end, Blake Lively's saga became a cautionary tale of how fame, ego, and manipulation can dismantle credibility, proving that no amount of celebrity power or public drama can transform fiction into fact. Her fixation on controlling the narrative spiraled from concerning to downright delusional, issuing gag orders against critics. blocking discovery, and even dragging Taylor Swift into the mess by targeting her phone records while Swift carried on with her own business empire. All because Blake couldn't operate without chaos. Meanwhile, her legal team was exhausted and overwhelmed, described by insiders as mentally drained, buried under filings that even veteran lawyers couldn't untangle. By May 13th, everything imploded when Brian Friedman's firm, the last semblance of professionalism, filed a brutal letter exposing Blake's sanctions push as legally baseless, emotionally manipulative, and embarrassingly unserious. Her entire strategy, the letter suggested, looked like something dreamed up in a group therapy session. And if that wasn't absurd enough, Blake tried to weaponize Deadpool and Disney, literally submitting Marvel movie clips as courtroom evidence to prove Baldoni's alleged malice. Her legal masterstroke amounted to a meme-level argument weaker than a child's plea to stay up past bedtime. Ryan Reynolds wasn't spared either, facing accusations of misusing Disney shareholder funds to bankroll Blake's revenge-fueled courtroom antics, drawing SEC attention to their doorstep. In short, the entire courtroom saga had devolved into a surreal blend of PR addiction, exaggerated theatrics, and blatant disregard for legal norms, turning the justice system into a celebrity circus where facts were secondary to spectacle. The public may have watched with fascination, but behind the scenes, Blake Lively's legal drama had hit full delusion, raiding Mickey Mouse's wallet for a smear campaign while filing motions so ridiculous they read like SNL sketches, transforming what should have been a trial into a parody of itself. Blake Lively's lawsuit transformed into a full-blown social media spectacle, soundbite ready, boss babe styled, and Instagram polished, all while experts described her filings as delusion dipped in desperation. Judges even warned her that her antics could violate First Amendment rights, yet she refused to slow down, dragging Deadpool into her PR storm and turning every legal motion into a punchline that embarrassed her own team. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood's charming golden boy, grinned for cameras while quietly steering the chaos from behind the scenes. Reports suggested he leveraged Wayfair, PR agencies, and blockbuster marketing budgets to bankroll their vendetta against Justin Baldoni, with whispers that even Disney funds, yes, Mickey Mouse's money, were quietly funneled into this personal crusade, turning superhero film budgets into a private legal war chest. The now infamous Deadpool pool scene summed up the absurdity. Blake claimed emotional trauma, while Reynolds mocked her alleged abuser on screen, a contradiction so blatant it could have been plastered on billboards. His smirking distance let Blake hog the spotlight while he stoked the fire, exposing what looked like a coordinated, high-production smear campaign rather than a genuine cry for justice. Blake made things worse by dragging innocent professionals into her mess, targeting Jaime Heath, Melissa Nathan, and WM executives with baseless accusations and vague group claims that screamed, "It's everyone's fault but mine." Respected industry figures suddenly found themselves trapped in her legal meltdown, all because Blake couldn't surrender control of her narrative. Her repeated sanctions requests were denied, yet she doubled down, turning even clerical mistakes into fresh battles. Her fixation with image control spiraled into outright manipulation, weaponizing pop culture, private conversations, and media spin to fake victimhood while her actual case collapsed around her. From twisting Marvel content to exploiting celebrity ties, every move revealed a strategy built on performance, not proof. On drama, not law, the public and press watched in disbelief as her celebrity ego overtook courtroom protocol. Deadlines missed, evidence cherry-picked, and basic constitutional limits stretched to absurdity. Judges and legal experts alike saw through the spectacle, recognizing that Blake's approach wasn't about seeking justice, it was about scripting a narrative, no matter who got hurt in the process. In the end, her so-called strategy exposed itself as reckless, theatrical, and destructive, a chaotic production where facts were props and perception was the prize. Her every motion, doctor document, and media leak worked less like legal arguments and more like intimidation tactics, meant to overwhelm and dominate public opinion while burning through reputations and patience alike. As the drama escalated, the legal merits shrank beneath the glare of celebrity chaos. By spring 2024, even small administrative slip-ups snowballed into full-blown crises, with Blake's team treating every typo like breaking news. Judges again cautioned that her publicity stunts risked breaching free speech boundaries, but her ego only grew louder, igniting her legal team's exhaustion. Behind closed doors, her own attorneys, whispering the word narcissist, described her as a psychological case study rather than a client. Michael Godel, a key member of her defense, reportedly watched colleagues reject his filings as repetitive and emotionally charged, realizing even insiders knew the case had veered off the rails. But Blake ignored the signs. She started dragging PR managers like Leslie Sloan into strategy sessions before her own lawyers, letting tabloid advisors and Pinterest boards shape her courtroom image. Nothing said justice like a motion seemingly written by someone Googling how to look empowered in court. Her obsession hit new lows when she tried subpoenaing Taylor Swift, exposing that her case was never about truth or fairness. It was about clout and control wrapped in designer labels and influencer slogans. By May 2024, her legal team had finally had enough, resigning en masse and fleeing her courtroom chaos like people escaping a fire. Left to handle everything herself, Blake tried playing lawyer, PR expert, and performer all at once, and failed spectacularly at each. Now completely isolated, Blake's courtroom circus lies in ruins. She's weaponized the justice system not to prove wrongdoing, but to feed her own ego, turning every document and deadline into a press release for herself. Even her closest allies have abandoned ship, tired of being extras in her self-directed romantic tragedy. Judges, unimpressed by the parade of Deadpool gimmicks and Disney-fueled dramatics, have seen through the illusion. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds faces shareholder backlash and ridicule, his once pristine image tainted by the chaos he helped create. Blake's credibility has been reduced to rubble, buried beneath a mountain of caption-ready Instagram-filtered legal nonsense. Her once powerful legal machine has collapsed under its own weight, crushed by delusion, vanity, and sheer incompetence. Now Blake stands alone. No lawyers, no viable claims, no defense beyond memes, spin, and tantrums, confronting the fallout of her own creation. The Hollywood courtroom circus she built for fame has completely imploded, leaving behind nothing but embarrassment, legal wreckage, and a cautionary tale of what happens when spectacle overtakes substance. In real time, the world watches as the empire of illusion she engineered finally collapses under the spotlight she refused to step out of.